Lloyd was once a poor, pitiful commoner with the weakest magic in the kingdom. The nobles despised him for being weak and ugly, mocking him before sentencing him to death. Out of cruelty, they gave him one last chance to use his magic against them. Blinded by rage, Lloyd tried casting fire magic, but it was so weak that the nobles only laughed harder. Broken and hopeless, he wondered why he was even born like this. To humiliate him further, one noble launched a fireball that engulfed Lloyd in flames. As he burned, Lloyd admired the beauty of true magic and wished he could have another chance at life to study magic and become powerful. The next moment, he opened his eyes in an unfamiliar room surrounded by maids. Thinking he was in heaven, he accidentally cast a powerful spell that blasted through the castle roof, despite being just a toddler. His wish had come true. He was reincarnated as a prince, the seventh son of the royal family, blessed with immense magical power. Years passed, and the kingdom flourished in peace. Inside the royal palace, Lloyd often hid from the maids and escaped into the vast library, where he was fascinated by magic books. Despite his status, he had no interest in the throne. His passion was magic. His teacher Silpha trained him in swordsmanship every day, insisting that even royalty should know how to protect themselves. Although Lloyd preferred studying spells, he reluctantly sparred with her. At first he held his ground, but her superior strength and reach forced him to cheat by secretly enhancing his body with magic and even copying her moves with control spells. Despite this, Silpha quickly caught on. Instead of scolding him, she praised his ability to combine multiple types of magic at once, a feat even court mages struggled with. Later that night, Lloyd overheard stories of a forbidden library in the castle's dungeon, said to hold the soul of an ancient demon sealed inside a book. His curiosity got the better of him. Using invisibility magic, he slipped past the guards and broke through the protective barrier with ease. Inside, he was awestruck by countless ancient tomes, but one book suddenly came alive, releasing a strange demonic figure trapped within. The creature introduced himself as Grimm, a powerful demon sealed long ago. He tried to persuade Lloyd to release him, even offering gold as a bribe. However, Lloyd quickly saw through the illusion, turning the fake gold back into dust. He refused to set Grimm free, instead restoring the magical seal on the library while continuing to search for knowledge. Lloyd didn't believe the demon's excuses, but Grimm tried one last time to tempt him, promising to teach him ancient magic not found in any book. That offer caught Lloyd's attention. Hungry for knowledge and reminded of his humiliating past life, he agreed. With a single spell, he broke the seal. Grimm emerged in a monstrous form, part beast and part shadow, but instead of teaching Lloyd, the demon immediately unleashed a massive wave of dark magic, reducing the entire library to dust. Yet Lloyd stood unharmed, protected by a mysterious barrier he had never seen before. Grimm grew frustrated and hurled blast after blast, but the shield didn't even crack. Curious, Lloyd touched the swirling darkness with his own fingers, shredding his skin, yet grinning at the thrill of it. He begged Grimm to keep attacking, almost enjoying the pain. Furious, Grimm split his head into two and chanted dual incantations, merging them into one devastating spell. But again, Lloyd's barrier absorbed it completely. Trying to flee, Grimm discovered he was trapped inside another layer of Lloyd's magic. Cornered, he prepared one last spell, but Lloyd stopped him, demanding instead to see his best defensive magic. With a single chant, Lloyd released a blazing sphere that turned the entire area into a molten pit, roasting Grimm alive. And yet, demons couldn't die. When the smoke cleared, Grimm, shaken and humbled, begged for mercy. He swore loyalty to Lloyd and asked to become his familiar. Amused, Lloyd agreed, but forced the demon to take on a harmless form, a small goat that could fit in his pocket. Grimm plotted in secret to one day betray him, but when he tried to touch Lloyd's body, he realized the boy's mana was so overwhelming that he couldn't even move a finger against him. For now, he submitted completely. Weeks later, while Lloyd was reading, his older brother Albert, the second prince, invited him to train. Albert showcased his fire magic, striking bullseyes with ease as the servants applauded. When it was Lloyd's turn, he deliberately held back, grazing each target instead of hitting the center. Some mocked him, but Albert defended his younger brother and let him continue practicing alone. Excited, Lloyd revealed his idea to Grimm. He wanted to attempt casting 2 spells at once. Grimm warned him that such a feat was possible only for demons with multiple heads, but Lloyd insisted. For their first attempt, he failed. The second time, he succeeded, merging 2 powerful opposite spells into one. The sky itself tore open with a blinding explosion, leaving a hole above the kingdom. Although it eventually closed, the sight was terrifying. The next day, Grimm showed Lloyd the newspapers featuring the hole in the sky. But Lloyd's eyes caught something else, an article about adventurers looting a dungeon. Determined to explore one himself, he created a perfect clone to take his place in the castle, linking it to Grimm so they could communicate. Far from the palace, Lloyd encountered a girl fleeing from a pack of orcs. She fought bravely, using a mysterious breathing technique that boosted her strength. Intrigued, Lloyd disguised himself to appear taller and older before introducing himself. The girl, Tao, a B-rank warrior from another continent, quickly warmed up to him. Eager to impress, she led him into a dungeon. She crushed monsters with her explosive attacks, while Lloyd casually collected glowing stones. Over lunch, he asked if her technique was called chi breathing. She confirmed, surprised that he recognized it. Even more shocking, Lloyd managed to mimic it almost immediately, feeling a new kind of energy flow within him. Delighted, Tao led him deeper. As she opened a treasure chest, a massive black blade shot out from the ground. It nearly split her in half, but Lloyd shoved her aside just in time. The chest crumbled, and a towering skeleton rose from the earth, its empty eyes glowing with murderous intent. Lloyd stared at the towering monster and asked Tao what it was. Her heart sank as she recognized it, a lich, a creature far too strong to appear in a low-level dungeon. Without hesitation, she used her chi technique to blast Lloyd out of the chamber, sacrificing her safety to give him a chance to escape. The lich attacked with its magical blades, forcing Tao to dodge and counter while suffering heavy injuries. She couldn't understand why such a powerful enemy was here, one that even A-rank adventurers would struggle against. Determined to protect Lloyd, she fought on, but exhaustion quickly set in. To her shock, the lich spoke, mocking her weak chi magic. It revealed that by devouring others, it could gain their skills and knowledge. It dismissed Tao as too weak to bother with but mentioned Lloyd, curious about his sharp reaction speed. Tao defended him, saying he admired chi despite the continent looking down on it. Enraged, she pushed herself to the limit and shattered the lich's barrier, only to realize it had disappeared and was now behind her. Too weak to resist, she braced for death. But before the killing blow landed, the attack shattered against an impenetrable barrier. Lloyd had returned. He praised Tao for holding out and declared he would handle things from here. His eyes gleamed with excitement as he faced the lich. Using chi techniques alongside his mana, he darted around the cavern with incredible speed, dodging attacks and testing the breathing technique Tao had shown him. For the first time, he broke his own barrier, relying solely on agility and chi flow. Blending chi with mana, Lloyd unleashed razor-sharp magical blades, faster and stronger than anything the lich had faced. The creature panicked, pouring all its power into defense, but Lloyd's strikes sliced through its barrier and carved deep wounds. In the final clash, his enhanced blades cut straight through the lich, destroying it completely. When they opened the treasure chest, they found only an old knife. Tao dismissed it, but Lloyd kept it, sensing it was special. The dungeon began collapsing, a natural occurrence when its treasure was looted, forcing them to escape. Outside, Tao proudly told him the technique he used was known as a chi blade, something even she had never mastered. Lloyd promised to learn more from her before flying back home. Upon returning, he found Grimm battered and exhausted. Silpha, his relentless teacher, had mistaken the demon's weakened state for laziness and trained him all day, nearly breaking him. Lloyd showed Grimm the enchanted knife and began experimenting with weapon enchantments. He studied the process carefully, learning how to strip enchantments and create new ones. With silver provided by his father and oil from Silpha, earned after a sparring match, Lloyd began enchanting weapons in secret with Grimm's help. The first attempts failed, breaking countless blades, but Lloyd refused to give up. Out of 120 swords, he successfully enchanted 50, an unheard-of feat, since even professional enchanters managed only a 10% success rate. His brother Albert was stunned by the result. Testing one of Lloyd's swords, the sheath split apart instantly from the magic power infused within. Impressed, Albert invited Lloyd to join him on a monster hunting expedition. With a wide grin, Lloyd eagerly agreed. The next morning, Albert and his party set out from the castle in a carriage, with Lloyd peacefully sleeping inside. They traveled through farmlands filled with the sweet smell of wheat until Lloyd finally woke up, checking on Grimm, who was relaxing as usual. As they approached the forest, Albert pointed toward its entrance, making Lloyd's eyes light up with excitement. He asked Silpha if monsters could be found there, but she calmly explained that most were near the lake. Still, Lloyd was thrilled to be outside the castle, especially since he could finally test his enchanted swords. Suddenly, Silpha unsheathed her blade, startling Albert, who thought he had offended her, but she had sensed danger. Right on cue, a pack of kobolds emerged from the trees surrounding the carriage. The knights quickly formed a protective wall around the princes, while Silpha leapt forward to engage the monsters. Lloyd pretended to be shocked by the attack, but in truth he had already sensed the ambush. He had been secretly practicing a chi technique called spectral detection, which allows him to sense enemies in advance. Grim was impressed. This technique was supposed to be incredibly difficult, yet Lloyd had been maintaining it for over 24 hours. The knights fought bravely, but when they struck with Lloyd's enchanted swords, the blades sliced through kobold armor like butter. The knights were stunned and terrified by their sharpness, realizing they could even cut themselves if careless. Albert praised Lloyd's enchantments, admitting they surpassed even A-rank enchanters. Silpha also complimented him, all while casually standing atop a pile of kobold corpses. Just then, a stray kobold lunged at Lloyd. Before it could strike, Tao appeared out of nowhere and kicked it aside. She scanned the area, certain she had sensed someone using chi magic, but since Lloyd was still in his child form, she couldn't figure it out. The kobold recovered and attacked again, but Silpha swiftly killed it and warned Tao not to touch Lloyd so casually. The two women nearly started a fight, but Albert quickly intervened, inviting Tao to accompany them to the lake. By nightfall, the group camped near the lakeside under the moonlight. Albert thanked Tao for saving Lloyd, though she remained suspicious, still trying to trace the chi energy she had sensed earlier. Lloyd was relieved his secret was safe, for now. Later, he tried to relax in his tent, only for Silpha to smother him with her overprotective embrace. Tao caught them and called Silpha a creep, sparking a heated argument between the two women. The knights, however, were delighted, thinking they had front-row seats to paradise. Lloyd, frustrated, slipped away, muttering that this felt even more suffocating than the castle. Albert joined him and gave some brotherly advice, warning him to be careful around women. Their chat didn't last long. An explosive blast shook the camp as a massive beast appeared from the forest. It was a bear-wolf. The knights rushed to defend the princes, while Silpha stood protectively in front of Lloyd. The bear-wolf attacked with incredible speed, forcing Tao to intervene with her chi blast, briefly knocking it down. But the monster got back up, stronger than before. This time, Albert stepped forward. He unsheathed his sword, chanted a spell, and unleashed a massive fireball that roasted the beast alive. The knights cheered his power, but Albert admitted the truth. His magic had been amplified by Lloyd's enchantments. Just when everyone thought the danger was over, Grim grew tense. He remembered that the chapel on the nearby hill had once been used to imprison a powerful demon. At that exact moment, the dead bear-wolf stirred again. To everyone's horror, a clawed hand burst from its mouth and a demon emerged. The creature introduced himself as Pazuzu, promising to kill them all. At his command, hordes of monsters swarmed the camp. The knights' swords cut down the beast, but it was hopeless. They regenerated instantly under P's control. Tao urged Albert to retreat, but he and Silpha refused. Silpha pushed Lloyd behind cover, but instead of panicking, he excitedly asked Grim if he could teach him P's mana manipulation technique. Grim was baffled. How could Lloyd want to learn in the middle of a battlefield? Meanwhile, Silpha had had enough of Pazuzu's mockery. Calling him a pathetic incel who had never smelled a woman, she charged fearlessly into battle. With blinding speed, she severed his limbs and cut down the bear-wolf's body piece by piece, forcing Pazuzu out into the open. As the knights trembled in awe, Lloyd crafted a glowing mana flower, complete with color and fragrance after only a few instructions from Grim. The demon was furious, but Silpha was unstoppable. She tore through his defenses, stabbing his eye, slashing his body, and finally decapitating the bear-wolf in one final strike beneath the moonlight. Pazuzu was left broken, bleeding, and humiliated. For the first time, everyone, including Lloyd, saw the terrifying might of Silpha when she was truly serious. Silpha's focus locked onto the weakened demon P. Slowly stepping toward him, she raised her sword and warned him to surrender, because the blade he once mocked was now enchanted by the very boy he tried to kill. But instead of fear, Pazuzu only smirked and released a strange pink gas that spread across the battlefield. Instantly, the fallen monsters began to regenerate and ambush from behind. Silpha nearly got caught, but Albert and Tao blasted them away just in time. Albert quickly ordered the knights to form a defensive wall, but soon the gas reached them too. One by one, the soldiers collapsed under its pressure. Even Albert struggled to stand, and Silpha herself dropped to her knees. Pazuzu rose with a wicked grin, spreading his wings. He boasted that over a century had passed since he escaped his prison, and now his smoke would drain away every ounce of strength until no one could resist. He struck Silpha across the face and hurled her into the sea. Albert tried to move, but the gas made him helpless. Pazuzu declared that everyone who inhaled his smoke would lose all strength, leaving them easy prey. But Tao refused to give in. She insulted him, called his stench disgusting, and even mocked his looks. Furious, Pazuzu lashed out with a kick, but Tao blocked it head-on, shocking him. How was she still conscious? She revealed she was using a special breathing technique to resist the gas. Pazuzu snarled and snared her with his tentacles, electrocuting her body while demanding she submit. But Tao only laughed in his face, elbowed him away, and unleashed a powerful pulse of energy that blasted him into the water. Yet before she could recover, one of the demon dogs lunged and swallowed her whole. Pazuzu emerged again, mocking the group, calling everyone worthless except Silpha and Tao, his future slaves. He dragged Silpha's unconscious body from the water, promising to corrupt her with his smoke until she served him forever. But then, something unexpected happened. He heard a voice. Someone was still conscious. To his shock, it was Lloyd, calmly playing with one of the demon dogs, completely unaffected by the gas. Pazuzu demanded to know why, but Lloyd ignored him, instead using mana transmutation to summon a glowing bed of flowers. The flowers radiated warmth and kindness, breaking the demon's control over the beasts. Memories of their families returned, the very families Pazuzu had slaughtered. The pack turned against him, attacking with feral rage. Enraged, Pazuzu beat them down, screaming at their disobedience. His fury leaked uncontrolled mana, killing Lloyd's flowers in an instant. But instead of fear, Lloyd grew curious. Why didn't demons ever truly die? Why were they always sealed away instead? Perhaps it wasn't that they couldn't be killed, just that no mage had enough power to do it. And with that thought, Lloyd unleashed his domain expansion. The entire area turned dark, and Pazuzu froze in terror as he realized the truth. His smoke had no effect because Lloyd's mana was overwhelming, so vast that P's own power was nothing in comparison. From there, it wasn't even a fight. Lloyd toyed with him, bouncing him around inside barriers like a trapped animal. Together with Grim, he multiplied spells across every element and detonated them in relentless waves. For 30 straight minutes, Pazuzu was battered inside the cage until he was nothing but ash. When the knights began to wake up, Lloyd quickly released the barrier and slipped away, not wanting to reveal his power. When Albert asked what happened, Lloyd simply lied, claiming a mysterious magician named Robert had killed the demon and disappeared. Days later, Albert returned to the kingdom as a hero. The king praised his courage against such a powerful foe, but Albert gave credit to Tao and to the unknown mage, Robert. Still suspicious, Tao went searching for this Robert in the forest, and never returned. The king praised Albert for his bravery, saying he had a strong chance of becoming the next ruler. But Albert surprised everyone by insisting that Lloyd deserved just as much credit, since without his enchanted weapons, none of their victories would have been possible. He even asked the king to include Lloyd in the succession race, and the king agreed. Overjoyed, the others rushed to hug Lloyd until he was left completely worn out. Later, Lloyd returned home with Silpha and Shiro. Silpha immediately tried to drag him into training, but Lloyd resisted. Just then, Albert appeared and pulled him away, saying he needed to speak with his younger brother. Though Silpha protested, she couldn't defy Albert. He led Lloyd to meet their fourth brother, Prince Diane. Diane's workshop sat on a pond, where he forged weapons by hand. He wanted to see Lloyd's enchanting skills for himself. At first, he doubted Lloyd could really be behind the magic weapons. But when Lloyd began inscribing runes on a sword, Diane was left speechless. Lloyd worked faster and more precisely than master enchanters, even embedding multiple spells at once. Diane lifted him up proudly, calling him a genius, and asked him to help create his dream weapon, the ultimate magic sword. Diane explained that a true magic sword is forged by enchanting the steel while it's still being shaped. That way, the sword carries lasting magical power. Since he had no talent for magic, Diane wanted to create weapons that would let anyone wield spells. Lloyd didn't care much for the dream itself, but the process fascinated him, so he agreed to help. Together, they began forging. Lloyd compressed a high-level fire spell into just 2 parts and inscribed it onto hot steel, but the blade shattered under the strain. Even after simplifying, the steel kept breaking. Grimm eventually discovered the problem. The enchantment ink was poor quality. Lloyd analyzed it and confirmed it lacked enough monster core essence to work. Since they had none left, the only option was to obtain more by raiding a dungeon. Silpha revealed she already secured the king's permission for Lloyd to go dungeon hunting, arguing it would build his character. The next day, they registered at the Adventurers Guild. Lloyd tried to downplay his power, releasing only a fraction of his mana when tested. The crystal ball ranked him as E-, though his magic alone was graded A. Most adventurers laughed at him, but the receptionist was impressed. His magical potential reminded her of the legendary Silver Blader. This angered the guild members until Silpha revealed the truth. She was Silver Blader. From there, the group accepted a dungeon quest. Meanwhile, Albert and Diane continued preparing for war, hoping to mass-produce magic swords with Lloyd's help. Once Lloyd returned from the dungeon carrying a proper core, they finally succeeded. Diane forged a fireball sword so powerful that its first swing left behind a massive crater. That night, exhausted, Lloyd tried to rest. But as he drifted off, he sensed a strange distortion outside in the garden. When he turned, he realized an assassin was already there, waiting for the perfect moment to strike. The assassin hid near the fountain, watching Lloyd's room, but to her shock, he suddenly appeared right beside her. Startled, she tried to run, only to realize Lloyd had already sealed the area with a barrier. Smiling, he teased her about trespassing and asked if she was ready for punishment. Cornered, the assassin threw off her cloak, releasing a sweet fragrance that made Lloyd dizzy. It was poison. Though he used a purification spell, the effect only worsened. She explained why. Her poison constantly changed its nature through magic, making it impossible to cure. Such abilities marked her as one of the blighted, rare people born with dangerous powers. Introducing herself as Ren, the poison blighted, she proved her words when even a moth nearby disintegrated from her aura. With a kick, she shattered Lloyd's barrier, then left, saying he'd only be sick for a few days. Grimm rushed over, but Lloyd assured him he was fine, using a high-level healing spell to recover. He revealed he let Ren escape so he could track her to her base, suspecting she belonged to the Assassin's Guild Silpha had once mentioned. Following her trail, he soon found their hideout. Inside, the guild members scolded Ren for failing to kill her target, though she argued she had already gathered valuable war intel. At that moment, Lloyd revealed himself. The assassins recognized him as the Seventh Prince, a boy rumored to be far stronger than he looked. Their leader ordered his death, and the assassins launched at him one by one. First came Babylon, whose body could stretch like rubber. Then Crow, whose cursed voice forced enemies to obey his words. Next was Gali, a bald fighter who secreted a sticky web-like substance. Finally, Talia, a swordswoman whose injuries reflected onto her opponents. Each fought fiercely, but Lloyd blocked, dodged, and even copied their techniques mid-battle. Instead of fear, he grew more excited, laughing as though it were a game. When Talia wounded herself to hurt Lloyd, he simply healed the injury, and hers healed as well, shocking her. Realizing her power could be controlled, Lloyd engraved a spell on her and then on the others, allowing them to manage their abilities instead of being cursed by them. One by one, the assassins broke down in relief and joy. Even Ren, despite trying to hide her feelings, was happy to finally gain some control over her poison. Though she called him their enemy, the group began treating Lloyd as one of their own. They even gave him spare clothes to Ren's annoyance. Lloyd, ever cheerful, asked to see their abilities again, but the assassins insisted he first hear their story. They told him about their missing leader, Jade, who had the cursed ability of teleportation. Though uncontrollable, Jade had been the one to form the Assassin's Guild, branding their coins with a wolf insignia and vowing they would one day bring peace from the shadows. One day, however, he vanished mid-sentence, teleported away without warning. As they spoke, a teleportation circle appeared before them, delivering a letter. It bore the guild's wolf mark and a message from Jade himself. He revealed that he had been teleported into Lordos, their enemy's territory, but had already staged a coup and made himself lord of the land. He invited his guild, along with Lloyd, to join him at his manor. Meanwhile, Silpha and Shiro found the assassin's hideout empty, with only a note from Lloyd saying he had gone to Lordos with them. Arthur, upon hearing this, panicked and assumed Lordos had kidnapped Lloyd. Diane tried to calm him, but when Silpha produced Lloyd's discarded clothes, both she and Arthur swore they would wage war. Unaware of the chaos he had left behind, Lloyd happily flew toward Lordos with his new assassin friends, eager to see what awaited them. The assassins were overwhelmed with joy when they received Jade's letter. For so long they believed their leader was lost, but now it seemed he was alive and calling for them. Gali even bowed deeply to Lloyd, promising to repay him one day for saving them. Ren, still shy but determined, approached Lloyd and asked if he would join them. She wanted him to use his magic to help Jade as well. Lloyd examined the letter carefully and asked how they thought it arrived. The others dismissed the question, saying Jade must have used teleportation magic. But Lloyd pointed out that teleportation was extremely unstable, yet this letter had been sent perfectly, with no flaws. That could only mean one thing: Jade had already mastered his ability. The older assassins grew uneasy. If Jade had learned to control teleportation, why would he vanish for so long and suddenly call them back now? Could this be a trap? Ren, however, clung to her faith, believing their leader was truly reaching out. Lloyd teased her at first, saying there would be no reason for him to go if Jade had already mastered his powers. But then, with a mischievous grin, he changed his mind, admitting he wanted to study teleportation magic for himself. He reassured Ren with a playful flick on the forehead, promising to handle anything that went wrong. With that, Lloyd carried them through the skies at supersonic speed, leaving the assassins screaming in terror until he finally stopped in a forest. While they tried to recover, Ren ran off to hunt, determined to impress Lloyd. As she left, Golly told Lloyd about Ren's tragic past. Her poison curse had killed her parents, forcing her to survive alone in the wilderness until Jade found her. Though the guild had been wary of keeping such a dangerous child, Jade stubbornly declared she was family. He hugged her, called her cute, and nearly poisoned himself to death in the process. But from that day forward, the assassins raised her as their own. Golly taught her discipline, Crow and Talia crafted her clothing, and Baby made sure she was fed. Later, with Jade's help, they designed an enchanted cloak that finally allowed Ren to live outside her barrel without harming others. Touched by the story, Lloyd said he looked forward to meeting Jade. Soon after, Ren returned with her cooking, a foul, bubbling mess. The others hesitated, but Lloyd and Grimm dug in without complaint, praising the taste. Having lived in poverty in his previous life, Lloyd was used to eating far worse. Inspired, the assassins followed his lead, even asking for seconds. As they ate, Golly revealed more about Jade's past. He was actually the third son of Lordos's ruling family, born into a household obsessed with war and bloodshed. But Jade hated their cruelty and dreamed of overthrowing them. That was why he sought out the blighted assassins in the first place. He needed allies strong enough to help him change the future. Afraid they would leave him, he confessed in tears. But instead, they barely reacted, saying they had always assumed he was some spoiled noble. To them, it didn't matter. They were outlaws, and Jade had given them purpose. Jade swore to one day defeat his family and create a land where the cursed could live in peace. That promise had bonded them together. After finishing the meal, they moved on toward Lordos. Lloyd eventually fell asleep, but even in slumber, he maintained a powerful barrier, impressing everyone. Ren suggested they let him rest while they scouted the manor first. Grimm reluctantly agreed and stayed with them. Inside the manor, they found a lavish party. Jade appeared before them in lordly attire, smiling warmly as though nothing had changed. The assassins ran to him in tears, relieved to see him alive. But suddenly his expression twisted. With a surge of power, he crushed them to the ground and mocked them for being so easily fooled. The truth was revealed. Jade was no longer himself. A demon named Gus had taken over his body during his teleportation. No matter how many times Jade had tried to kill himself to resist, Gus healed him instantly until his will finally broke. Now Gus possessed both his body and his teleportation magic. Ren screamed in defiance, but Gus struck her down, cruelly mocking her past and tearing apart the cloak Jade had once given her. He noticed a strange mark on her arm, something not in Jade's memories, and tried to force the answer from her mind. Ren resisted by biting her own tongue, but even that wasn't enough. Just as she was about to break, a massive surge of mana enveloped the battlefield. A devastating energy beam tore through the area, obliterating the demon spawn. The assassins looked up to see Lloyd, finally awake, his expression deadly serious. Calmly, he descended to the ground, healed Ren's injuries, and gently scolded her for hurting herself. The demons trembled in fear, staring at the crater he had left behind. For the first time, they realized the truth. This seventh prince was a monster far beyond anything they had ever faced. Gus proved nearly impossible to kill. With contempt in his eyes, he shoved one of his own demons into the lava pit, mocking the rest for simply standing there. Lloyd turned to the assassins and ordered them to run. Ren tried to resist, but Golly dragged her away, reminding her this battle was far beyond them. Meanwhile, Gus scolded his demons, furious they weren't chasing the assassins. Terrified, they scrambled to obey, but every attempt to pursue was cut short by Lloyd, who lazily unleashed devastating spells that wiped them out in seconds. Hovering in the air, Lloyd clashed with Gus, who tried to use his cursed speech to kill him. Lloyd's mana shield blocked the physical strikes, but the speech pierced through, striking another demon dead instead. Curious, Lloyd analyzed the magic and realized it wasn't a spell at all. It was raw mana compressed into words, capable of stopping a heart instantly. Fascinated, he noted how this liquid mana slipped through barriers that would normally block any attack. Grim grew nervous. He explained that demons were ranked from Class 10 to Class 1, with Jade's old foe, Paz, only being a level 8. He admitted he himself was level 3, but Gus was worse. Gus wasn't ranked at all. He came from the netherworld itself, making him closer to a demon lord. Even 100 first-ranked demons couldn't scratch him. But Lloyd only smiled, calling Gus a dirtbag and challenging him head-on. Gus responded with a shard of pure mana that nearly pierced Lloyd's strongest barrier, something even Grimm's best attacks had never managed. Excited, Gus created countless black spears, bombarding Lloyd at lightning speed. The prince dodged and layered shield after shield, but the relentless assault never stopped. Then, in a flash, Gus teleported above him, shattering his defenses and unleashing a massive mana missile. Lloyd countered with an ocean-sized stone wall, splitting it in half. The clash shook the battlefield so violently that even the demons and assassins stopped to watch in awe. As the assassins tried to escape, Golly and Crow used webs and cursed speech to hold the pursuing demons back. Baby managed to open the gates, while Talia stayed behind, sacrificing herself by cutting her own feet. Her cursed magic forced every demon to collapse, their bodies mirroring her wounds. Golly refused to abandon her, choosing instead to die by her side. Ren screamed for them to come with her, but Talia only smiled, ready to end it all so the others could live. Back above, Gus mocked Lloyd for falling so quickly, believing he had skewered him with dozens of spears. But then, his grin faded. The body he'd struck was only a statue. The real Lloyd appeared behind him, blade in hand, and swung for his neck. Gus barely teleported away in time, thrilled that his opponent had survived, eager for their battle to continue. Gus demanded that Lloyd not disappoint him. He wanted a real fight, but Lloyd, calm as ever, asked if they could take the battle somewhere else. His family was on their way. That surprised the demon. Before Gus could respond, a rain of flaming arrows and spells tore through the lower-class demons. Ren froze in shock, not understanding what was happening. Then the main gates split open, and Albert strode through with sword drawn. Silva and the rest of the knights followed, their presence overwhelming. Ren broke into tears of relief as Albert ordered his men to burn through anything in their path. Fire engulfed the battlefield, scattering demons in chaos. Crow felt a strange familiarity when he saw Silva, though he couldn't place where. Silva and Albert caught his glance and responded with a chilling stare that dropped the assassins to their knees in terror. Albert debated what to do with them, but Silva argued they should deal with the Assassins' Guild first. She leveled her sword and demanded to know where Lloyd was. When they hesitated, she pulled out a pocket watch and warned that with each lie, one of them would die. Trembling, Golly admitted Lloyd was fighting inside the castle. Albert pressed further. Who was he fighting, and why? Ren blurted out the truth. Lloyd was battling the demon's leader for their sake. Baby quickly silenced her, reminding everyone of Lloyd's request. Never reveal his true power or Grimm's existence. He didn't want attention, he only wanted to study magic in peace. But Silva grew impatient. Their silence was almost up, and Ren panicked. She stammered that Lloyd was fighting a total loser. The others echoed her awkwardly, making them look like fools. Silva didn't buy it. She raised her blade, ready to execute Ren first, but Albert stopped her. To make matters worse, Albert pulled out Lloyd's underwear, taken from the assassin's headquarters. Why, he demanded, would Lloyd fight for people who stripped him? Golly, fumbling, claimed they were only drying his clothes after washing away fluids. The words only made him sound guiltier. Albert and Silva's killing intent flared, but Ren stepped forward. She admitted no one would believe outcasts like them, but begged Albert to trust her once. With tears in her eyes, she explained, demons had taken Jade, the person she cherished most, and Lloyd was fighting to protect others from suffering the same loss. The knights fell silent. Then a demon-possessed human lunged at her. Before it could strike, Princess Elias arrived on her fox, LaRue. The beast crushed the demon in its jaws, devouring it whole. Elias assured them Ren was trustworthy. If she had ill intent, LaRue would have eaten her already. Trusting his sister, Albert shifted priorities. Demons came first. He ordered Silva to find Lloyd. Silva obeyed, but Ren panicked. She clung to her, insisting Lloyd was fighting only a weakling and needed no help. Silva threatened to cut her down if she didn't let go. Even trembling, Ren refused to release her. Before the argument could escalate, the sky lit with teleportation magic. Spears of dark energy rained down, obliterating the bridge beneath them. Dion shouted, demons were crossing the river to flank them. Albert realized they'd be trapped and ordered a retreat. Silva, however, was torn. She had been so close to reaching Lloyd. The truth emerged. Gus destroyed the bridge because Lloyd asked him to. With the army retreating, Gus grinned and told Lloyd their duel could resume without interruption. He conjured spears of pure mana and hurled them across the battlefield. Lloyd dodged with impossible speed, his focus locked on his sword. Below, Albert's forces fought desperately. Fire magic seared the demon-possessed, but their bodies regenerated even as they screamed. Killing them seemed impossible. Dion unleashed a massive fireball with his enchanted blade, yet even that wasn't enough. The knights grew exhausted. Albert agonized. Could they kill hosts who were still human at the core? Then Baby stepped in. He snapped a demon's neck without hesitation. Albert was stunned by his ruthlessness, but Baby explained the possessed were already gone. Their minds were dead. There was no saving them. The mangled corpse proved it true. Resolute, Albert raised his sword. He formed seals with his hands and summoned a rain of fireballs. The inferno consumed the screaming horde. "Forgive me," he whispered, "but I'll free you from this torment." He ordered his men to unleash everything they had. Meanwhile, Silva faced a new threat. As she tried to cross the ruined bridge, a figure leapt from the shadows. Humpty Dumpty, an 8th class demon and master of the demon blade technique. Their swords clashed in a flurry too fast for most eyes to follow. The shockwaves shattered stone around them. At first they seemed evenly matched, but when Silva's hairband snapped and blood trickled down her forehead, Humpty mocked her. Humans, he said, were nothing more than clothing for demons. He boasted of absorbing his host's memories and strength, and now he wanted her body next. Silva's eyes burned with fury. Calling on Shiro, she retrieved a special sword hidden in his fur, the weapon Lloyd had forged just for her. Demon Bane, strong, flexible, and unbreakable, it had been crafted so she could fight at her full strength without holding back. She raised it high. Bear witness to what humans can achieve. Humpty laughed, mocking her resolve. He revealed that Gus's entire plan, possessing the people of Lordos, spreading rumors of war, had been a trap to lure Jade home. The assassins, hearing this, burned with rage. Ren even tried to attack him, but Silva struck her down, promising vengeance herself. The duel reached its climax. Humpty charged with his ultimate technique, but Silva's blade flashed faster. In an instant, she cut him into countless pieces. Blood rained as his body fell apart. She sheathed Demon Bane with elegance, her expression cold and merciless. Then, kneeling before the corpse, she offered a final tribute. Before possession, this man must have been a proud warrior. She would have honored the chance to cross swords with him. The assassins also bowed their heads to pay respects. Silva noticed Ren crying her eyes out and asked if she knew the man. Ren shook her head but said she just felt bad for him. Silva stood, dusted off her clothes, and told them all bluntly that they weren't cut out to be assassins. At that moment, Golly and Crow realized who she really was, the legendary adventurer they once fought. Before anyone could react, a huge explosion erupted behind them. In the next instant, thick, scalding steam flooded the entire area. Silva looked confused, but the assassins caught a glimpse. The entire river had evaporated. Ren's heart sank. She instantly thought of Lloyd and could only worry for him. A few minutes earlier, in the sky, Lloyd was dodging Gus's spinning spear discs. They shattered every decoy barrier he set up and forced him into non-stop movement. His heavy-duty barrier held, but then Gus twisted one spear into a ribbon of cursed speech that slipped right through. Lloyd was forced to abandon the shield, knowing one touch meant instant death. To make things worse, Gus combined his spears with teleportation circles, his shadow wolf. Spears appeared from nowhere, forcing Lloyd to fly at top speed. He knew that if he slowed down for even 2 seconds, he'd be finished. And with Gus's bottomless mana as a demon, the attacks never stopped. Annoyed, Lloyd fought back. With double casting, he created a giant flame golem that punched toward Gus. Gus smirked, teleported away, and let the golem's fist slam into the river. The entire river exploded into steam, drowning the castle in blinding fog. Lloyd quickly realized the steam cut off Gus's vision. He remembered the demon's letter to the assassins. Gus couldn't teleport to places he couldn't see. That was his opening. Using chi, Lloyd tracked Gus in the mist. Grim panicked, but Lloyd told him to stay quiet. On the ground, Gus grumbled that the steam gave Lloyd an advantage, but decided he could just wait it out. He didn't realize Lloyd had already crept behind him. Suddenly, dozens of Earth-made clones surrounded Gus. He let them hit him, regenerated, and stabbed the one he thought was real. But it was only another clone. More clones attacked from all sides, some even speaking to confuse him. Gus laughed, impressed, but then a hidden flame blast burned him from a blind spot. The real Lloyd was hiding among them, constantly reshuffling his position. Even so, Gus healed instantly and mocked Lloyd's efforts. To finish it, he created hundreds of spears and destroyed clone after clone. One spear grazed Lloyd's cheek, but he pressed forward without a barrier. Grim panicked again until he noticed the sword in Lloyd's hand. Spelltaker. With it, Lloyd slashed through a teleportation circle and was pulled into a space filled with magic symbols. There, he saw light push back the darkness and finally understood teleportation magic. Back in the real world, Lloyd canceled his clones and revealed himself. Gus mocked him, asking why he fought for weak humans and offered to join forces instead. Lloyd sighed. "You're just a beast who never questions why he has strength. Humans are weak, but from their weakness comes desire. And from desire, magic. That's why magic is infinite." Angered, Gus teleported in for the kill, only to get smashed in the gut by Lloyd's punch, bones crunching from a blow infused not with mana, but chi. As Gus writhed on the ground, Lloyd sat calmly in front of him. "What now? Your spears? Your cursed speech? They're nothing special." The demon seethed with fury. Lloyd only tilted his head and asked, "Do you remember the last thing Jade told you before he died?" Gus recalled Jade's final words, remembering how the dying man declared he would lose. The memory drove him into a rage, and he cursed both Jade and Lloyd. He teleported to strike, but Lloyd anticipated his move, kicking him the instant he appeared. Gus was sent rolling across the ground, screaming in pain. Lloyd pursued him through the air, delivering a relentless barrage of chai-infused kicks that tore through earth and stone. Each time Gus attempted to teleport, Lloyd was already there, striking him before he could recover. Lloyd seized his leg, spun him violently, and slammed him into the ground before pummeling him without pause. Desperate, Gus tried again to escape, but Lloyd predicted every point of reappearance. A kick to the face sent Gus crashing through a boulder. Lloyd followed with a double-cast spell that blasted him through the castle walls and into the crater created earlier in the battle. Still screaming, Gus was driven further down by another kick, almost into the magma below. Knowing the heat would overwhelm even his regeneration, Gus tried repeatedly to teleport to safety, but Lloyd intercepted him at every location. Beaten back into the sky, he faced Lloyd's cold demand to reveal any remaining tricks. Cornered, Gus revealed his ultimate technique as a demon lord. Manipulating the atmosphere's mana, he condensed it into a colossal sphere of black magic and hurled it with all his strength. Lloyd dismissed it casually, dispersing it with a single counterspell. The attack vanished instantly, leaving Gus in shock. When Gus accused him of bluffing, Lloyd demonstrated the same spell, Void, explaining he had mastered it long ago and even tested it against itself by colliding two spheres. While Gus struggled with the immense cost of producing one such attack, Lloyd spoke of creating multiple with ease. Gus's outrage turned to fear as he realized the vast gulf between their power. Lloyd summoned countless void spheres, slowly surrounding Gus. Terrified, Gus teleported frantically, but the attacks pursued him, inflicting devastating damage. Above, Lloyd's magic grew so immense it darkened the entire sky, creating an artificial night. The battlefield became cloaked in oppressive darkness as his spell consumed everything like a black hole, draining mana and flesh alike. Gus attempted to abandon his body, but Jade's corpse resisted, forcing him back inside. In desperation, he pretended to be Jade, begging Lloyd for salvation. Lloyd saw through the deception and unleashed another void attack. Trapped, Gus cursed Jade and his companions one final time before being crushed between colliding spheres. His body and soul were annihilated. The oppressive darkness faded, revealing clear skies once more. Jade's soul appeared briefly, smiling as he delivered a final message that left Ren in tears before fading away. With dawn breaking over the mountains, light washed across the battlefield. Ren remembered a story Jade once told about the seventh prince's birth, when a magic surge destroyed part of the palace. Though his companions had doubted it, Jade wanted to believe in a genius magician who could break their curses. The memory returned with bitter clarity as Ren wept. Later, Lloyd and Grim erected a memorial for Jade. Grim praised Lloyd for landing Void against Gus despite its slowness, while Lloyd admitted that deciphering Gus's teleportation mid-battle was reckless but necessary. He credited Jade for leaving behind the key to defeating the Demon Lord, claiming the victory was Jade's, not his. Hidden nearby, Ren broke down in tears. When Albert arrived, he recognized the grave and revealed he already knew Jade's true story. Though much had been concealed, the assassins had confessed their past lives and desire for redemption. Golly and the others had vowed to atone by serving Lloyd. Albert accepted their sincerity but warned Lloyd of the responsibility. If they failed again, the burden would fall upon him. Lloyd promised to guide them, accepting full responsibility for their actions. Albert approved, acknowledging his brother's resolve. In that moment, Albert declared that Lloyd's status as the seventh prince did not diminish his worth, showing both affection and pride. Soon after, the assassins were freed and accepted as Lloyd's subordinates. A memorial gathering was held with the group drinking and reminiscing to honor Jade. Amidst the laughter and grief, each found their own way of bidding farewell. Elsewhere, Ren reflected on her cursed poison ability, which had isolated her for so long. Lloyd reassured her that her gift could be transformed into medicine to save lives, assigning her the role of pharmacist. For the first time, Ren accepted her power, vowing to dedicate herself to his cause. In the aftermath, Lloyd secured his father's acceptance of his decision regarding the assassins. Soon after, he and Grimm descended into the forbidden underground library, determined to continue uncovering the mysteries of magic, bringing the anime recap to an end.